You're listening to Thunderquack Podcast Network. This is the Thunderquack Podcast, the official podcast of Thunderquack Podcast Network, where anything can happen. So strap yourselves in and hold on to your butts. It's Thunderquack time!
We'll get the hang of this recording thing.
Eventually.
We've been doing it for 8 years.
Yeah.
Oh, 8 years, dude. That's a long time. That's like a third grader. Is it? Oh,
yes.
Dear.
We'll get that out on the Thunderquack podcast. That's good. We'll work out all the kinks
sickness.
and then we'll go right into... It'll be a short Thunderquack. Most of the Thunderquacks, I think, until the end of the year, will be short episodes.
Shorter, sweet.
Last week, we went a full hour.
Really?
But, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
But...
Because we had the extra time. That's the one thing that I will say that maybe the podcast proper suffers when we're not together, but it's like because basically like I can sign off by the time I have to actually go to bed because I can just like be in bed.
You say extra time. We were on until 11:30, 11:45.
Which I try to leave here at 11. I try to leave here at 11.
But...
That makes a difference.
It was no extra time for me.
I know.
It was no extra time for me.
You.
I went to sleep at the same time.
I made some sort of comment or something to my my producer at work today about I don't know. Oh yeah, because I watched Hocus Pocus last night with my friends.
Yeah.
They came over and anyways I made some sort of comment. She's like, "What time do you go to bed?" And I was like, "You know I'm not a morning person. Like she is like up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. She goes to the gym. She comes from North Van. She like is there early." And I'm like, I can't do that. But also she goes to bed earlier. And that's the thing too is like I stay up late. Like
that sounds awful.
I know, right? I can't do mornings.
I mean, I'm a morning person as well. Like I'll get up at like 7 o'clock. This is the thing. It's not that I'm a morning person or I'm a night person. I am a hybrid introvert extrovert. It's like like during the day when the sun is up, I like people. And then the second that the sun goes down, leave me alone. Just go away. Right? Like
that's fair.
Like one-on-one is okay. Like spending time with my wife or hang out with you to do a podcast or whatever is fine. But I generally like the evening is for things like going to the movies or
just doing things that don't require like
having
other people.
having like a nice dinner with like one or two people, right? Like I don't like going to parties that are at night. Like I would rather go to like a barbecue in the afternoon and hang out with people and then like be able to leave at like 4 and then just do your own thing. The rest of my day. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
I don't want to be out until midnight like partying on a regular basis.
Oh,
once in a while.
I had that revelation the other day where I was like, some people just genuinely go out and are partying like until midnight.
Yeah.
I just want to clock because now's the time to do it. That when you speak, it picks you up on my microphone, but when I speak, it doesn't pick me up on your microphone.
It's just the way that they're positioned.
I don't want you hogging my microphone. How do I change it?
So we were having problems before because when we were recording the Thunderquack podcast over the summer, we didn't need the TV. So I was sitting on the other side.
Yeah, and then it was like,
what happens there, it's funny because we're about 3 feet away from each other, I guess. Mm-hmm. But when I was sitting on the other side of the room with the microphones basically as far apart as we can get them,
right?
That distance is closer to like 5 feet, maybe 5.5 feet. Mm-hmm. So the difference in distance made an echo. Because when we started doing the 2 mic setup, we didn't have the echo.
Yeah.
And then it was once I switched to sitting over there that we started getting the echo.
Oh, I get it. Because it's like...
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
So it won't be a big deal. Like when I mix it down into a single file, it'll sound fine. I am picking up way more on yours.
No, that's what I mean. Like it's like dramatically more, and
Is your gain up?
Well, I have no idea. That's why I'm like it's like a significant difference. And it could like I don't know if it's directional or if it's like
Yeah.
But like
Whoops. Yeah, your gain was up quite a bit. It was at like the halfway point.
That's better now, I think, because now I'm picking up in a similar way to you being picked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like we'll continue to tweak this. We're recording like a multi setup right
just in case. Oh dear.
Yeah, we have the 2 mics set up for in the setup that we hope to be using for the rest of the season. But then as a backup, we've got the old microphone hooked up to my other computer.
Just in case.
We
want to bring you some quality stuff this season. So we're just gonna
actually
Instagram it.
I'm gonna Instagram
do
it.
the grams.
Well, I'm gonna do a story.
I need something to Instagram besides my film. I feel like all I've been Instagramming is my short film.
Don't worry, you're not.
Okay, good. I was like, do
hands.
I need to like change something? I can adjust. I like the.
Sorry,
like
great podcasting, everybody. It's just we just go silent.
No. I was breathing heavily. People could. Oh, so pumpkin chai time. So I really like the one thing I will say about podcasting, and that was always weird over the summer, is that like I really associate podcasting with like tea because I just drink tea when I'm here. But tea to me is really a winter thing, so it does throw me off in the summer when I'm not like interested in drinking as much tea. So it's nice. I'm back with pumpkin chai. It's October, getting right into the groove of things and making a go at the gross winter months when it's dark out. I was able to drive here when it was light out all year. And now we're back into the abysmal darkness of October. Happy Halloween, everybody, by the way, too. This will be... Are we actually going to podcast on October 30th? That's like the day before Halloween.
Yes, that is the day before Halloween. What significance is that? Are we actually going to podcast the day before? It's like I think what happened there is that you started thinking that we were podcasting on Halloween, and then you very quickly realized, no, actually, we podcast on Wednesdays, not Thursdays.
I have stuff in my calendar for all next week, and I'm hoping the thing I have on Wednesday is podcast.
I hope so, because that's what you have to do.
I don't know, I guess so. That's fair.
Yeah. The only thing to really talk about on the Thunderquack podcast is the most important thing that we could talk about on any podcast. It's the Star Wars trailer.
So good.
That's it.
Okay, so I don't even know what it is, but I was looking at questions for you because you can answer them. That the internet wasn't super helpful. What is the order of who's narrating in the opening of the trailer?
It's Rey, Finn, Poe, Rey.
Okay, so she does say the first line.
I believe so.
I couldn't tell who
I'd have to be listening to it right now, but but if I'm recalling it correctly, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because she says something, and then, or is it her? Maybe it's Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let's just listen to it.
I felt like it was Luke, but I didn't know. But it felt like it was Luke from a while ago. Like it felt like it was a young Luke, not a...
Like a callback?
Yeah, or something, but I was like, I don't remember it from anything, so it, to me, is like a thing. Is this good podcasting, too, where we, like...
This is fine.
Play a... But it's still, like, hear the audio for it, so... The score, too, oh my god. It's an instinct, that one.
Yeah. No, that's all Finn.
Is that all Finn?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an instinct of feeling? That's Finn?
And then that's Poe.
You're not alone?
Oh, so good. So good. And then it's Rey.
Yeah.
And then Kylo, obviously. And then Kylo, I do. We won't listen to the whole thing.
I love your, like, dude bro face.
I do. I do. I know who you are. You're nothing. That's why I love you. What? How is that a tactic? I don't understand it. Kylo Ren is the worst.
Isn't that, like,
He's
gaslighting?
just yes. Yeah, he's negging. Like he negs her in The Last Jedi. He's like, You're your parents were nothing, you're nothing, no one thinks anything about you, you're not important or cool or good looking, except to me. And it's like, what? No.
It makes you feel special.
Literally everybody who meets Rey is like, you're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like it's very interesting because he is literally trying to isolate her, right? Like it's not just like, and I don't think that it's necessarily romantic. I don't even think it's romantic at all. I think he's trying to isolate her. Yeah, just because he's a dark side.
He doesn't know any better.
Oh. What?
No, I don't know if I did this before or after the last time we podcast, but I finished the last shot. Did we talk about it yet? Oh yeah, I wrote a whole thing about it.
You wrote a whole thing.
But I didn't actually talk about it.
I'm gonna take this. We should have talked about this on the last podcast, but we talked about so much else. Yeah. The Thunderquack Quarterly is something that, like, once I get the first couple out, I'll be able to actually, like, hit the quarter. We still haven't gotten the first one out.
What? But I did it so long ago.
I know you did, and I did the art so long ago because I was done the art before you wrote your piece. But first of all, you wrote way too much.
What? But...
You wrote way too much, and it's good, so I want to use all of it.
Okay.
But you wrote way too much for one page. Like you wrote like a 2-page spread. Like it's so I have to figure out. I have to figure out how I'm gonna format things, and it's just proving to be a little bit more difficult than I thought, and that in
really
the
tiny.
initial setup, that's not how it works. Yeah, like the original plan was for it to literally be the picture on the front side and then the text on the back side.
Yeah.
But like the text would have to be like 6-point font and like no line spacing in order for it to all fit.
I mean, you can just add the recommendations that I have. You could just put as a QR code and then people could scan it.
I will not put a QR code on anything ever by choice. Okay. That's not...
Terrible idea.
That's not how anything works.
Okay. I mean, it's not. I haven't seen a QR code in a very long time.
Exactly.
Nobody uses them. I used to use my BlackBerry all the time.
The reason why nobody uses QR codes is because you have to have a specific app to scan QR codes. But if you have to open an app to scan a QR code to open a link in a browser,
you might as well just type.
You've done as much work as typing in a URL. Like you may as well. Like we're fast on our phones now. It's like fair. QR codes would have been really handy back when we were still using T9 keyboards. So yes, when you had a BlackBerry, I'm sure it was fantastic. But for everybody else, not so much. Podcasting is going to be rough because
you're sick.
It's not. I'm not sick anymore. I'm over it, but it's just all still like lingering. Yeah. And it's still like the damage from all of the coughing and stuff. So
I'm starting as of today. I woke up and I had to sneeze all day, and it was really frustrating. And I realized it's because it's like actually like just my nose is like, oh, excuse me. Oh, I've been on a hiccup throughout the whole podcast. Anyways, the reason I brought up the last shot.
Yeah.
Which I hope those of you that do eventually get the Thunderquack Quarterly enjoy my thoughts on the last. But it's because of little Ben. And you're like, aw, baby Ben.
Yep.
So cute.
It's
but it made me think about like what went wrong. As with anything.
I don't think that it's too much of a mystery. I think it's really simple. I think Snoke showed up at some point and started manipulating. Yeah. Now the curious part of that story that needs to be told is, why did anyone trust Snoke at any point in time?
Right, yeah.
Right? Because or more importantly, I guess, is like, how did Snoke get in contact with Ben?
Right, yeah.
And I don't know, I guess, I mean, if we see him connecting Ben and Rey across the galaxy, then he could very simply just appear to Ben Solo whenever he wants. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe he was just inside Ben's head, just like telling him these things. But I don't know. I mean, we will get that story. There's no way we won't get that story. It's just a matter of time, and it'll be a matter of what medium it comes in, whether it's a novel or an animated series. It'll be one of those two things. It will not be in a comic. It won't be in a video game. But it won't be in a live action story.
Yeah. But the other thing about the trailer that's really cool, but that I don't know anything about, but I feel like you would be excited about, is that apparently the Ghost ship or something, it's something from Rebels is in it.
The Ghost. So there's the shot with all of the ships,
Which
the
is
whole Resistance
so
fleet.
Cool. I love that shot.
And the ship that is just to the right hand side of on the Falcon's left, but when we're looking at it on our right hand side, is the Ghost, which is the main ship from Star Wars Rebels. So it's basically their Millennium Falcon. And since it was introduced, there's obviously the comparison. And then in Forces of Destiny, which was a series of animated shorts on YouTube, there's actually one short where Han and Hera, who is the owner and pilot of the Ghost, after the Battle of Endor, they are talking about whose ship is better, and then they have a bit of a race.
Is this an animated one?
In it, yeah.
Oh, how cool!
And so since then, there's a question because the Falcon is a YT-1300 light freighter, right? But the Ghost is a VCX-100, also a Corellian ship. It's actually the ship that Han name drops in Solo when he's lying to Lando
about which one he has.
about the ship that he has. He's like, I've got a VCX.
Yeah.
And Lando's like, that's a pretty nice ship. And so that line in there being like Han wouldn't just drop any ship.
Right, yeah.
He would say the
ship
ship that he wants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now there's like a thing of like, is the VCX better?
Oh, interesting.
And the thing about the VCX is that the VCX is not a freighter in the same way that the Falcon is. So the argument could be made that the VCX is it's more versatile. It's built to do more of the stuff that the Falcon does.
Right. Okay.
Whereas Han has modified the Falcon
to do those things,
things that a freighter really shouldn't be able to do. So yeah, there's kind of, not to mention the fact that the hyperdrive itself, not the hyperdrive, the Navicomputer is L3, right? So that the fact that the Navicomputer is L3 means that the Falcon is the fastest ship in the galaxy, because L3 is the best Navicomputer in the galaxy, right?
That was also a good part about the last shot too, like learning more about L3 and Lando is great.
Yeah.
So
and I'm like, so in the lead up to the movie, there was a little bit of Solo. There was a little bit of conversation around like Donald Glover, sorry, said in a couple of interviews that he, because of the stuff with L3 and some of the lines in the movie, there were questions of like, well, are they together? Are they intimate? Right. And like, how, like, would Lando even be interested in a droid? And Donald Glover was like, I think Lando is interested in everybody. Like that he's basically pansexual. Like he doesn't care. Like he's down for a good time no matter who or what you are, right? Like it's species doesn't matter, droid doesn't matter, sex, orientation, none of that stuff is important to him. It's just about connection, right? Like it's about if he can make a connection. And then Last Shot has a little bit of that. It's nothing is ever explicit, and this is Star Wars. It's a little bit annoying because they have so much room to tell some of these stories, but and oftentimes they're very coy about it, and it's like, oh, here's a little thing that if you interpret it this way, could be seen. But Last Shot does have a little bit in it of the idea of like, obviously the relationship between him and L3. There's a little bit between him and Han, where it's like it's not reciprocated. Han is very much a cis hetero dude, like But Lando makes a few comments in that book that could be interpreted as him sort of hitting on Han a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and that's okay.
My head got caught on a picture. I'm gonna get back up.
And then he actually also has a love interest, a female love interest in that story as well.
He does hit on Han a lot in
he hits on Han a lot in the Last Shot.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, the book is great. The Last Shot is fantastic. So yeah, the Ghost is in there. Next to the Ghost, which the ship that the Falcon actually kind of moves in front of, is another ship from Star Wars Rebels called the Shadowcaster, which is like an ally of the Ghost crew.
Cool. Is it that
Ketsu
round ship?
Ono.
There was a round ship.
It's kind of rounded.
Okay.
It actually it's shaped very similar to the Defiant from Deep Space Nine for Star Trek fans, but it's much smaller. And then there are tons of other ships in there. Some that may just be the same model as previous ones, but some that might actually be ships from previous movies, previous stories, and that sort of thing. And apparently maybe the Colossus is in there from Star Wars Resistance, but I haven't been able to identify one of these ships as the Colossus. But I would imagine for those who listen on Rebel Cells, like, Matt and I have already talked about this at length, but I don't see why you would be building that series in that direction. So the Colossus starts out as a refueling platform on the planet that it's on. It's like just this ocean planet. The whole planet's water.
Oh, cool.
And you think it's just this floating platform. And then in one episode, you see this sea creature. There's like a sea monster. And so you kind of see that actually the Colossus is much bigger underwater than it is above water. Oh. But the crew of the Colossus only uses the part that's above water, basically. They don't go into the rest of the ship. Like, nobody even really knows that it's down there.
Really?
Right?
Interesting.
And then at the end of the season, in order to escape the First Order, they realize it's not a platform. It is a ship. It's a capital ship. Like, it's like a Star Destroyer.
Oh, wow, cool.
Like Mon Calamari cruiser, size ship. And they basically take off and then run away. They leave the planet. This season 2 begins with them going to Dakar shortly after the First Order has destroyed the surface, destroyed the Resistance base at the beginning of The Last Jedi.
Oh, right, yeah. Is that Dakar? I was going to say Dakar sounds really familiar. So
yeah. So, and then on the Colossus are these guys called the Aces, who they were running races because it was peacetime, right? Nobody was at war.
Right.
Okay. Like Leia had the Resistance and she was trying to hold back the First Order, but the rest of the galaxy was like, you're being paranoid. Just because they wear white armor and pretend to be Imperials doesn't mean that they're the Empire. They have no power. There's like 12 of them. Like, who cares? Right? So the rest of the galaxy was like kind of mocking Leia behind her back, and then obviously they destroy Hosnian Prime, and that begins the war, right, between the rest of the galaxy.
Hosnian Prime is the thing where it's like all the things that get destroyed. Yeah.
So, so they've been running these races with these starfighter aces, and they're not really like ready to battle. They defend the platform from time to time, but they're not a squadron. It's not like they're Rogue Squadron or something like that. Like, they're not ready to take on a Death Star or something. So they were just part of like an oil fuel up place. Basically, yeah. That sounds
like totally something I'd be into watching. It's just like a rogue crew of people that then have to like.
If that were the show, then yes. But the show is mostly silly hijinks. It's actually it's aimed at a very young, skewing audience, like sort of more the 8-year-olds than the 13-year-olds, because Star Wars is always kind of 8 to 13.
Yeah.
But like Clone Wars and Rebels definitely aimed for 13 and maybe up a little bit.
Yeah.
But Star Wars Resistance definitely aims for the 8-year-old and maybe 213.
Okay, right.
But in any case, they've been building up all this stuff with the Aces. And most recently, in the most recent episode, they're building them up as a team now, because now they're on the run from the First Order, and they have to get better at dogfighting and stuff like that. So they're training, and I don't see why you tell that story at all if it's not going to lead to Rise of Skywalker and the Colossus and the aces all being there.
So you do want them to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So it should definitely do that. Okay.
At least not necessarily all of them. I would really love it if we saw the Colossus and we saw like 3 or 4 of the aces, like sort of the main characters. There's 5 aces, and then there's Kaz and Yeager. So I would love to see definitely Kaz and Tora, and then maybe 2 of the other aces.
I guess that's the name of the people that are on the Colossus ship.
Kaz is the main character. Kazuda Xiono is the main character. He's a former New Republic pilot that Poe Dameron recruits to go to the Colossus because the First Order is like sniffing around the platform, and so he's there to basically like report back to the Resistance about what the First Order is up to. So him, and then Tora is kind of it's because it's aimed at 8-year-olds. It's kind of his love interest, but not really. There's not really a lot going on.
Because they're 8 and they don't care.
Yeah.
About love interests.
I would like to see the 2 of them because they're kind of main characters, and then maybe Tam, but we don't know what's going to happen with her yet because currently she's with the First Order. She like defected, or not defected, but like went to the First Order when everything kind of went down at the end of last season.
You know what is so great for someone like me? There is so much Star Wars content that I just like have not consumed yet.
So the thing about Resistance is that it will be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, which is cool.
So you'll have the opportunity to watch it on that platform. But before you do that,
I should watch Clone Wars.
This is tough. I think that Star Wars Rebels will be more your cup of tea than Clone Wars. I don't think Clone Wars will grab you as much because Clone Wars isn't really that much about character. There are great characters in Clone Wars, but Clone Wars is about missions, right?
Yeah.
Like every arc is about a bunch of missions of like, we gotta
do this.
It's a war, right?
Yeah.
But Star Wars Rebels is really about the characters, and it's about the Jedi and light side
that
and
seems
stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think that you connect more with those characters.
For sure. Right.
So I would say to start there, maybe
start with Rebels.
But
does Rebels takes place between Jedi and Force Awakens?
No, Star Wars Rebels takes place in the lead up to Rogue One.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, before New Hope, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. It kind of
It's like after
Rebels.
Solo?
No, Rebels starts after the beginning of Solo.
Okay.
But before the end of Solo.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Right? So it like starts sort of in between there, and then Solo happens like in like season 1 or 2, like towards the end of season 1 or 2 of Star Wars Rebels, and then Rebels goes further past that, right up to months before Rogue One.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Rebels is great. Rebels is the best out of all of it, in my opinion. But the tough thing is that there's stuff in Rebels with Darth Maul that if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, you're not going to fully get.
Yeah.
So, and there's some stuff with a couple of the other characters like the Inquisitor that if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, there's a reveal that you're going to be like, he's a what now? Right? But if you've watched the Clone Wars, you're going to be like, oh, that's really cool.
Okay.
So it's tough, but
yeah.
I've said this many times. Like, I need to put together like a definitive Clone Wars watch list for people.
So that,
so it's like, yes, there are going to be 7 seasons, but there are really only maybe 4 seasons worth of content that you have to watch.
Right. Okay.
And then there's a bunch of other stuff that it's like that are good episodes, and then there are a bunch of episodes that are like, you could honestly skip these. Like the movie, other than the introduction of Ahsoka Tano at the beginning of the movie, you can skip the rest of the movie as far as I'm concerned, because it's not great. Okay. It's fine, but it's not great. And it also, there's a lot of Clone Wars that contradicts the films that kind of frustrates me. Obi-Wan fights General Grievous like 3 times.
Right. Oh yeah.
And then in Revenge of the Sith, it seems like they haven't even met.
Yeah.
They are very intentional though, because it's very clear that Anakin and Grievous haven't met, so they never meet during the Clone Wars because they have to
write around it, right?
Yeah, but there's a little bit more gray area with Obi-Wan, so they have the 2 of them fight a lot. And then Anakin and Obi-Wan fight Dooku like 5 times over the course of the series, and then the scene in Revenge of the Sith at the beginning where he's like, where Anakin's like, my powers have doubled since the last time we met. And it's like, you mean like 3 weeks ago? Because that's the last time you guys met was like 3 weeks ago. But yeah, if you can ignore that stuff, then
I mean, I guess you can. It'll be fine. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not the end of the world for sure. Like,
but I get it. It's annoying, and like the inconsistencies in shows is frustrating. But whatever.
But yeah, all that stuff's gonna be on
Disney Plus.
Everybody who missed it the first time around is gonna be able to take advantage of that and enjoy all that programming. So it's I don't know. It's kind of good and bad. It's going to be a lot. Honestly, I think that everything else is going to take a real hit because people are going to get Disney Plus and they're going to start going through all of that content and they're going to just ignore other platforms.
I mean, I will say that I pay for Viki and probably haven't watched anything since like April.
What is Viki?
Since before that. It's like Korean dramas.
Oh,
I haven't watched a Korean drama in like months. It's really sad.
That's just horrendous.
I know.
I can't believe
it's
it.
really devastating.
But like, okay, so Friends is apparently leaving Netflix.
No, it's been leaving Netflix for like years.
And we're in Canada, so it's always a little bit different here.
Because I feel like it's probably not leaving our Netflix.
I don't think it's leaving our Netflix, but it's apparently leaving Netflix in the US. But here's the thing. Who cares? Because Disney Plus is coming in about 3 weeks, and it's going to have all of Boy Meets World.
Oh, yeah.
So
nice. I also have all of the Friends on DVD. And I've been like getting rid of so much stuff. I have so many DVDs to get rid of, but the ones I will not get rid of is Friends, because that's like my childhood.
Yeah.
And then I won't get rid of Smallville because of nostalgia. And then there's like a handful of other like things I paid exorbitant amounts of money for because they're from BBC or something like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm kind of the same, but I do need to go through stuff. It's like Veronica Mars, I'm never going to watch the DVDs again.
Yeah. That's me too. Yeah, I'm getting rid of Veronica Mars. I'm getting rid of
not that I'm never going to watch Veronica Mars again. It's just like
find it digitally if you want
it's on. I think it's on Crave, but
and everything you'll be able to find digitally again. Anyways, like
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that like I've actually been starting to build up my digital collection, and like everything that I buy physical comes with a digital download
so that you can
as
have
well.
a digital download. Yeah,
I'm like
it's almost not worth buying something for me if it's not a DVD, Blu-ray, digital copy.
Yeah, but I almost bought. Well, I think it was the Batman Ninja Turtles Blu-ray. I almost bought that, like the actual physical Blu-ray, when I was picking up Spider-Man: Far From Home, and then I realized like, why do I want to have a physical copy of this? If I want this, I'll just buy the digital one. It's actually probably cheaper than the physical copy anyways. Yep. It's probably $17.99 as opposed to $24.99, right? Like yeah, and I'm like I've started using Google Play for everything. I was using iTunes, but when you use iTunes then you're stuck.
You're stuck using iTunes.
Using Apple platforms, right? No. But if it's on Google Play, I can watch it on my iPhone or on my TV or on my PlayStation. Anything that has a YouTube app. Yeah. You can go into your purchase stuff on YouTube, and it had all of your Google Play stuff is in there.
Oh, I just had the Google Play app, but I love purchasing stuff on Google Play. I purchased Hocus Pocus last night on Google Play. So, I'm sorry, my coaster fell down.
That's okay.
You've had these coasters forever.
Those coasters, yes.
Good, they've served you well.
It's true. Yeah. Do you have any other questions about the Star Wars trailer?
Does it start with Rey and Ben friends, or does it end with them friends? I feel like they're both fighting something together. Like, what are they smashing together? It's either at the beginning or the end. I feel like
it's the podium with Darth Vader's helmet on it.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But are they smashing it together?
I don't know.
Watch that scene again closely.
Where someone's trying
I think that they are fighting.
Okay.
And that Rey redirects his lightsaber.
Oh, so that it smashes that. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. And then he has like a little rage boy, like.
Oh, more than likely. Yeah. More than likely. Yeah. I think that we're gonna discover that Palpatine has been manipulating Ben through that helmet.
Ooh, interesting.
That when Kylo Ren is saying, "Show me the dark side, grandfather," that the voice coming through that is not Anakin Skywalker, obviously.
It's Palpatine, yeah.
That it's Palpatine, that it's been Palpatine all along.
Because wouldn't Anakin Force Ghost and like protect his grandson?
That's the thing, right? I think that the line where Palpatine says "you're coming together" is going to be your undoing or whatever. That line "you're coming together" plays over the Resistance fleet coming together, and then actually, the crew, like our main characters coming onto the cockpit of the Falcon. So it's a misdirect of like, oh, it's talking about the Resistance coming together. It's going to be their undoing. I think he's literally saying to Rey and Ben, "Your coming together will be your undoing, because now I'm going to make you fight each other."
Oh, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that is going to be the moment when the dark Rey comes out. And I am going to bet pretty high stakes here that we've seen dark Rey, but what we haven't seen is the flip side of that, which is a light Ben.
Oh, yeah.
And those two are going, like, he will also step out, and they will have to fight. They will both have to fight the versions of each other that they want, like that each one of them is trying to make the other one into. Idea. But they'll also have to fight the dark reflection of themselves, right? And that Palpatine will be basically trying to pit the two of them against each other, but that eventually they will come together in order to defeat Palpatine, and that'll be Ben's redemption. But I also expect that he might die in the process.
I feel like if he doesn't, it's not very Star Wars of them. I don't know.
I feel like, I mean, we've had this conversation before, but I think that everything that he's done, just like Vader, the only way he can redeem himself and balance things is with a self-sacrifice. Anything less than that is going to be...
He can just go to jail forever, right? There's a space jail, isn't there?
the other option narratively, which would be really cool...
Amnesia.
No.
Please don't let it be amnesia. That would be the worst.
You're not allowed to write movies. The other option narratively would be for him to get so injured in the battle with Sidious that the only way for him to survive is basically a suit like Vader's. But instead of him being all black, it would be like all white or something like that, making him look like a good guy. Which would actually be really cool, because there's a comic book called Star Wars Infinities where they're all alternate takes on, like, what if one thing happened differently. And the Return of the Jedi one ends with Vader surviving the battle with the Emperor and turning back to Anakin, and I don't think that they actually managed to defeat the Emperor. I think the Emperor gets away, and the end of the comic, I guess this is spoilers, but it's been out for like 15 years or something, longer than that actually. The end of the comic is Vader stepping out in all white and saying like because they're like, oh, the Emperor got away. How are we gonna... Now we've got to track him down and defeat the Empire. And then Anakin steps out in his all-white Darth Vader outfit and is like, but they'll never stop all three of us or something. Because it's Anakin, Luke, and Leia. And it's cool. Like the idea there is that Leia will also train to become a Jedi.
Nice.
And blah, blah, blah.
I like it. I like it.
I could see them kind of almost referencing that and having Ben be like reborn as Ben Skywalker, as Ben Solo, sorry.
Hopefully technology has advanced enough in this galaxy far, far away that it wouldn't be such a clunky suit. I feel like it's so clunky.
Okay, Vader's suit is clunky because he has no limbs. He's all robot. Yeah. Like he's a torso and a face.
You can make, I mean, did you see Ex Machina? I feel like you can make sleek robots.
You could, but that wasn't Palpatine's point that is that, and because he's a Sith And the Sith, like, they draw their power from fear, anger, pain, hatred,
Yes, he
all that
looks
stuff.
scary. I get it.
No, the suit was uncomfortable and it made him more powerful.
Oh.
Because he was in
that.
constant torment, so he was, it
What
made him
terrible-
stronger.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was just making a
The dark
flippant
side.
comment about this.
That's why
I know better than
That's
to do.
why when the helmet is coming down, it's like the man is a burn victim. His
Right.
skin must feel like his nerves would just, and this is right after.
Yeah.
Right? And when you see that helmet coming down, you see that it's just needles.
Yeah.
Like it's like an Iron Maiden, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the idea there, the visual there is supposed to convey that the whole suit is just torture. And Palpatine does that on purpose in order to keep Vader under control, to keep him on a leash, but also like to make him more powerful by making him reliant on the dark side.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. To fight.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's part of the whole thing.
The
So
more you know.
Anakin isn't, he's not like fully gone when he's fighting Obi-Wan. It's not really until Obi-Wan chops off all of his limbs and he burns alive that then Anakin is dead and Vader comes
born.
out, right? Even though he's already
Because
been
of
dubbed Darth Vader.
you've talked about this before. We talked about it when we were watching Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about how that has to do with channeling the dark side to survive and not burn yourself fully or whatever.
Yeah.
There was something about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. That's good.
Yeah. So, yeah. Any other questions? Is that it?
I think that's everything. Should we talk about something else on the Thunderclock
No.
besides just Star Wars? No.
No.
So I feel
Star Wars
it's
week.
just Star Wars week. I mean, it's true. I am really pleased. Someone did a really good post. We didn't talk about it because we understand that it's early in the year and we don't want to alienate everybody. But it was a Canadian election on Monday, the same day that the Star Wars trailer came out, and I had a friend that did a really good post that was like combining both of them, like using characters in Star Wars as like the references for the
candidates
for the candidates and like what was happening politically, which was kind of interesting. But I mean,
I'm so bummed. Our riding went conservative
no,
by 500 votes.
no,
It was a 3-way split, like a neck and neck 3-way split between conservative, liberal, and NDP. And Crystal and I both voted green. Because we felt like, this riding has been NDP for like the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, it's going to be NDP. Well, apparently the MP from this riding was stepping down this year, and it was a city councilor who's been a city councilor for like 10 years.
Yeah, but it was just
she was running for the first time.
Oh, so it needed
NDP.
Yeah.
So we were actually in a swing
an
district.
Oh, crazy.
And we didn't realize it. And if I had realized that, we would have voted differently.
Yeah.
Not that 2 votes would have made a difference.
No, but I feel like everybody would have.
If everybody would
like
have realized that, I think it might have made a difference. But I just can't. I can't understand it. I just can't fathom why people would vote for some of the parties that they vote for.
But the majority of people that voted this time voted for conservatives, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like they won the popular vote, which is one of those things as someone who's distinctively not conservative.
Yep.
It is this thing where it makes you think that if I would be outraged if it had happened the other way around.
Yeah.
And you're like, but we're not outraged by this like fragrant dis like something of democracy, like dissolution of democracy because of first past the post working in our favor, which is gross. It makes me feel gross because I hate first past the post.
Yeah, but we dodged a bullet because of it.
I know, but that's terrible,
I
right?
know.
Yeah.
I know it is terrible, but at the same time, thank God, because but the other part of that is that if Trudeau had pushed through voter reform, he would have retained some of his support from the last election.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why people switched over to other stuff. So it's that people voted NDP and Green instead of voting Liberal in this election like they did 4 years ago, because 4 years ago we were trying to get rid of the conservatives, right? And then everybody said like, oh no, it's safe. We're good. Vote your heart, vote your conscience, not strategically. The last election, the conversation was all around strategic voting, so that we could get rid of the conservatives. But I think the conservative number has stayed the same. Well, that's the problem is that the middle and the left are split into more.
Well, yeah, but
parties,
that is I will say, I watched this. So the coverage I watched was on the CBC, which is Canada's national broadcaster, and it's no commercials, which is really awesome. But they were like, part of their conversation was the Conservative Party lost one of the most progressive voices in the Conservative Party. I don't remember her name, but she was like the deputy leader basically of the Conservative Party, and they were like, that's like detrimental for people that want a more progressive Conservative Party. But also that the Conservatives have spent so much time consolidating their power because there used to be such a divide in the Conservatives, but they haven't expanded their base. They just rely on this one little pocket, like one little base. I will say, I'm pretty sure Penticton voted NDP because they had Russell Canning's dad. Well, he was on Improv the year after me. But anyways, I'm pretty sure his dad is like the MP of our of Penticton. And ours, like mine, I was worried, but like the thing is with my district is with my area is like, I didn't realize this, but Joyce Murray, who's in that district, was like the second choice for the leader of the Liberals. So it's like a real staunch, like Liberal riding. But there's a lot of Conservatives that are still out there. And I'm like, that's like the heart of Vancouver. Like, I don't know, man.
I just don't understand what people think they're voting for when they're voting
economic prosperity. That's all. And racism, because they're racist. There are racist people all over Canada, and I think that we just like forget that. Or we don't forget that.
But the truth of the matter, like the reality of the situation for a lot of these people, and this is the frustrating part, is that like you look at Alberta, and Alberta is very conservative, like the majority, not even the majority. Most, like 95%.
68% of Alberta voted for Conservatives.
Okay, so but when we look at ridings, I think it's like 95% of their ridings are
this election. 100%.
Oh, 100% were.
I'm pretty sure Alberta and Saskatchewan are completely conservative.
Saskatchewan was completely. Saskatchewan was 100.
Alberta, the last one. Okay, I went to bed at like 11:30, but the last time I was looking, the only district that was maybe up for debate was Edmonton.
Okay,
but I'm pretty sure it like all went blue.
And it has been that way for a very long time. And yet Alberta has seen the worst economic downturn that province has been through maybe ever in the last few years, and it's because of conservative politics. Like the doubling down on oil and gas, and the politics that's pushing marginalized people out of those communities, and it like to places like Vancouver, and like people leave, like a lot of teenagers can't wait to finish high school so that they can go to school somewhere outside of Alberta.
Well, that was actually I think what happened in the riding where the Conservative, it was Milton. I want to say Milton's in Ontario, but basically what happened is a Liberal, like an Olympian, wedged her out, won over the Conservative deputy leader, because Milton suburbs are being increasingly populated by minority families that are looking to settle down closer to city or closer to like a community, and like are changing the core demographics of those areas and wanting something else to look to. And sorry, I do have to correct myself. I'm pretty sure there is one little blob of orange in Alberta.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was.
It's just one riding, though. I'm pretty sure it's one riding.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. These ones are still empty. I don't know what they are. That blob of orange is the NDP riding in Penticton. Is what that is in the bottom of BC, because BC is also completely blue except for our coast. Okay, I do have to say that if something happens in Canada, I really need to petition Oregon, Washington, and California to make a new country. Yeah. Because I refuse to be part of Alberta and Saskatchewan.
The other part of that is that you're looking at the populated area versus the like densely populated versus sparsely
Yeah.
populated. So although the vast majority of geographic area is counted as blue for conservative, it's far fewer people in that whole area than in just like a couple of the municipalities in Greater Vancouver.
Right.
So, like you it looks daunting, but it's actually like the trees aren't voting conservative. And that's all that's out there is rocks and trees. It's BC.
That's fair.
So I don't know. It's it's difficult. It's just a difficult reality to live in, because I think that we want to believe, especially living in a metropolitan city like Greater Vancouver, that the rest of the world is progressive and understanding and enlightened. And the reality of the situation is that a lot of people out there are just overwhelmingly afraid.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's what it comes down to, is that conservative, far right wing, and I'm not even saying like far right wing anymore. Right wing extremists prey on the fear of working class people. Oh. That's what they do. That's how they consolidate their base. That's what Trump did. That's what Scheer did. Like, it is vastly misleading. You're right, because when you look at a map, it looks like it's all blue, but it's because those are the unpopulated areas, and then when you go into the cities, it's all orange. Yeah, with the NDP. Yeah. Okay. Oh, wait, Ryan actually posted a really great image that I shared as well, off of his, and it is showing all of it's showing the distribution. What's the language? It's a cartogram. So it's showing the distribution with hexagons.
Interesting.
Like with a hex pattern. Oh. And it's not geographically distributed. It's distributed by essentially like each hex is an equal number of people.
Oh, cool. And that's it's like across
so it actually shows you that like the majority of BC is actually a split between NDP and Liberal. Right. With a little bit of green in there, and then what's the yellow? I think it's Independent. And then like the interior is blue, but it counts for much less of the population. And it actually kind of shows you that the majority of the country votes Liberal, which in my opinion is right wing. Yeah. I don't think that they're moderate. I think that they're right wing, but the corporate policy making coming out of the Liberals is it's right wing. Like they are, like that's who they are catering to. They're not, they throw out one or two social initiatives per term.
Yeah, but then
right?
they just
and then the rest of it is just them doing favors for business people.
Well, I mean, yes, NC Lavalin, cough cough. The thing that was interesting this election, and a party that I never pay attention to, is the Bloc Québécois.
It was very interesting, wasn't it?
Paying attention to the Bloc Québécois this time around. Yeah. I didn't realize that they're so pro-climate change, like pro-climate like protections. Yeah. And that they're so secular. And I know that, but I always forget it about Quebec, because we always think about Quebec as this like cultural like iceberg that's like, or this like sort of on its own and like fighting for these things that other people don't understand. But I'm like, actually, a lot of the things that Quebec stands for is like very like, I don't know, probably good in the long run if it like, but I don't know. It is extreme,
but there will never be enough of the Bloc in order to really do anything, make any change. No. If there were, then Quebec would have left Canada a long time ago. Yeah. For people outside of Canada who don't understand, Quebec is French, and the rest of Canada is English. Language, but also like in origin. So, the French came here, like they essentially settled in the northern part of sort of like the eastern areas, right?
And I don't think people really understand that, like, Canada has, like, incredible cultural diversity from people that claim it more than me or Mike have any right to, that, like, Aboriginals were here first, but then, like, French and British forces and people settled here. The French have been people don't think about France as having a huge part of the population in the early settlers in North America, but it's mostly just Quebec now. And there's places in Quebec
because the British and then America
just
basically kicked them out. Right?
And there are places where, and I don't think people understand, but Quebec is not bilingual. Quebec is French.
Yeah.
Like, there is no, there's only one bilingual province, and it's New Brunswick, I think? Like, is the only province where you legally have to have everything in French and English. But in Quebec, it's just French. You don't have to have anything in English. You don't have to be able to speak English.
And it's really just like Hull and Montreal are really the only places
that are
that make a little bit of effort, and they're pretty French about it.
And like, there's places in Quebec where you go where it's just like you can't speak any English. You can't get my buddy did one of those, like, French exchanges, and he went to Chicoutimi, which is, like, in the north of Quebec, and he's like, I made no friends. I couldn't talk to anybody. Nobody understood me. And it was like a thing where it's like,
that would suck.
That
would be the worst.
I got to go to Montreal. Nobody wanted me to speak French in Montreal. It's so many Anglophones are in Montreal. And they, like, looked at me. I mean, they just, like, have such derision for you when you try to speak French, and they're
when
like,
you speak horrible French, they're like,
don't
just
know what you're
speak
doing.
English.
They're like, I understand you. Stop talking to me, like, because I think they feel like you're patronizing them. But I'm like, no, I'm genuinely trying to learn how to speak French. But anyways, I'm gonna stop looking at maps right now and just say overall, it was an interesting and disappointing time, and made me realize too, like, there's a lot of racism and hatred, and I think that some of that is fueling these decisions, and also people are just, like, afraid. And the CBC panel had the mayor of Calgary on one of the sub panels, who was actually quite articulate in his fight for, like, you can just tell he's, like, a politician to his core, about fighting for, like, Alberta, and, like, what they think. They're like, we're the ones that make Canada all the money, and nobody cares about us because they won't let us build pipelines. And I'm kind of like, that's a terrible way to think about how you're treating. We in no way want to stop Alberta from making money on the oil that's there, but we just want to do it in a way that, like, doesn't, like, do it at the expense of everybody else. And just because your gas prices went up and you can't afford your, like, huge truck and your townhouse that costs you a quarter of what it costs to live in a 1-bedroom apartment in Vancouver. Like,
what Alberta did as a province was in like let's say, this is an analogy, okay? The analogy starts now. In 1991, they saw the first POG, and they were like, POGs are going to be the biggest thing ever. And everybody else was like, I don't think these POGs things are going to last. Like, everybody else was going like, it's cool right now, but honestly, in 3 years, do you think we're still going to be playing POGs? I don't think we are. But Alberta was like, no, we are going to stop everything else that you're doing. Stop everything else. Shut down that bakery, close that school, shut everything down.
And just make POGs.
We make POGs. Alberta POGs, we may as well be Pogberta. Like,
Pogberta. Like, it's true. Everything is there. People move there to make POGs.
Yeah. Hey, you people from over in British Columbia, you want to make POGs? Come here. We'll train you in how to make POGs. We will pay you so much money to come here and make POGs.
We'll fly you to the place you actually want to live every 3 weeks because you can't stand living here making POGs. Yeah. We know you want to live elsewhere, but we have so much money from making POGs that we'll fly you back.
And then, like,
do people understand that we're talking about oil?
And then 2 weeks later, everybody was like, you know what? We're done with POGs. We're going to move on to... I don't know. What was the thing that happened after POGs? Tamagotchis, right? And then move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then Alberta was like, you guys, we built all this infrastructure to make POGs. And now you're saying that you won't... China really wants our POGs, okay? China says they want our POGs. Yeah. Can you let us build a pipeline so that we can ship POGs to China? And we're like... Well, we would let you do that, except we know that POGs destroy the environment. I don't know how, but they do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The analogy's falling apart.
Let's just, like, not...
But
Right?
but yeah, like
And
it's,
you don't need Pogs to run everything. Just change any technology that's run by Pogs. There are better solutions.
there are much better solutions, and the people who've been
Pogs
trained,
are a finite resource, guys.
the people who've been trained to work in the oil fields and oil sands and everything, they can be retrained to work in mining, which not much better in terms of what it does for the environment, but safer. And
when a tanker full of diamonds crashes on the coast,
it doesn't
kill all
of the dolphins. Yeah, everybody.
I would love to see that story.
The tanker full of
Tanker
diamonds.
full of diamonds.
That's not the kind of mining that we generally do in British Columbia, but that's fine. But more importantly, like those, because like people think of it and they go like, oh, these people have been trained to work in the oil industry, in the oil and gas industry. And it's like, no, they've been trained as engineers. Yeah. Right?
Or not
like
even, no,
like a mechanical, like mechanics and engineers.
Most of the people that are complaining about it are just laborers. And I apologize for putting the word just in front of that. But I mean, like, they're people that can be, those are translatable skills.
Well, yeah, it's like instead of building rigs for oil, build turbines for wind.
Or like it's just like you can do something else.
Alberta is just nothing but flat land.
And the problem too is that it's like the core of the problem is that these people, it's unskilled labor that makes a butt ton of money. And the unskilled laborers are like, but we want to continue to make a butt ton of money. Well, because they've learned
inflated
a specific
an industry in order to draw people there to work.
And so now people are like, but you're taking away my jobs, and we're like, no, we're changing your job. You didn't deserve to make that much money in the first place.
Well, honestly, I think they preyed on, like you say, it's like unskilled laborers, workers, whatever, right? Like the terminology isn't flattering, but it is what it is. They preyed on people who were looking for an opportunity for a better life. Mm-hmm. They sold them that line without ever explaining to them that what they were doing was asking them to bet everything on a bubble that could burst. Yeah. And then the bubble burst because we all went like, this is not good for the environment. Nobody wants any of this stuff as much as we're reliant on oil and gas and stuff. It's like nobody wants this stuff. We don't want you transporting it through our natural resources in British Columbia. We have some of the most amazing natural resources in the world, and we have some of the most unique, distinct ecosystems in the world. And they literally want to build a pipeline that puts out in an inlet that is home to thousands of unique species that are not found anywhere else in the world. They picked the worst place in the entire province to propose this, right? And it's like there are other inlets that they could have chosen that, granted, we don't want those destroyed either, but if they were destroyed, at least that kind of starfish or urchin or fish or salmon or whatever, they actually, like, they're all up and down the coast, right? Yeah. But this one specific inlet is home to thousands of unique species that can't survive anywhere else in the world. And one spill would destroy that ecosystem forever. Right, yeah. And you would be talking about like it would be considered an extinction event because you would have thousands of species that would no longer exist on the planet in one incident, like, which is just like, that's unfathomable, right? But
I love that you're so passionate about this because I don't know all these details of things like this. And it's like, it's hard for me because I also like understand the economic conversation. I too would like to be rich, but like, right. It's just like, there's different angles to it. But yeah, I'm pleased with the general outcome, but we've got a lot of thinking to do. And the clearest thing is that no matter what, you can't run an election anymore without considering the green, like, angle. Like, you have to talk about climate change. Greta's coming to Vancouver on Friday, hey?
Yep.
I'm excited. Do you want me to can I read you this post that only Canadians will understand?
Yes.
But it's like a perfect mashup of Star Wars and the election.
Okay, do it.
And it's from my buddy Nick, and I didn't get his permission to share this, so I apologize, but I don't think he listens to the podcast. So it's like, okay, the Resistance is the clear winner tonight. Though Leia has gone independent and Han Solo got caught wearing an Aladdin costume, the First Order has gained traction in the inner core of the system. The Separatists have risen again in Alderaan as the Jedi lose some ground. The Resistance will have to consider forming a new rebel alliance with one or the other. Meanwhile, the Ewoks gain more seats in the Forest Moon of Endor, but it still means very little. Snoke clearly killed tonight, lost his seat after that debate. Meanwhile, in other franchises, the Joker still runs the USA. So I just thought it was a really cool, like, obviously inspired by the trailer that came out, and
no one would ever vote for Han Solo in politics.
Well, you would think that no one would vote for JT after that. Does the rest of the world know how much we hate Justin Trudeau right now? Like, how did he get
No, I
reelected?
don't think so. I think that everybody else still looks at him and goes like, wow, Canada's really got it together.
No.
Yeah.
I feel like people that listen to this know that because we talk about it many times, but
It's
But
difficult.
I will say
He just lied. He lied a lot.
Yeah.
He said that he was going to do like 10 things, and he literally did one of them.
maybe the rest of the world is like, yeah, but politicians just lie all the time, and we're like, but we're
think-
not used to that.
I think that that's the thing, is that everybody else is like,
they're like, oh,
yeah,
woo-hoo, your
he
politician
did
lied
one
too."
of the things,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, 2 other political things, then I'll stop talking about them.
Okay.
But
We do need to record
I know,
quicker.
The Leia that they referred to in this was Jodie Wilson-Raybould getting her independent seat in Granville, Vancouver Granville area riding, which is the one like right next to mine. I'm really excited for her because she was basically fired by Justin Trudeau and now has come back and been like, I'm here for 4 more years, yo.
She was
Like, I'm so excited.
She was asked to basically toe the party line and support, basically like sweep. So there's this thing, SNC Lavalin, that like they're in bed with the government and doing a bunch of illegal stuff.
You watched the Hassan Minaj like thing episode about Justin Trudeau and it's on Netflix and it's really good about Canada, like, where he basically calls out Canadian like Justin Trudeau for being terrible, and it's all true.
Yeah. But basically like they were doing a bunch of illegal stuff, and
she was the justice minister.
They're paying the government to basically look the other way.
Yeah.
And then she was like, hold up, this isn't cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. And Justin Trudeau was like, you're going to do it or you're not going to be part of this cabinet anymore. Yeah. And she was like, cool, I'm not going to be part of this cabinet anymore. And moreover, I'm leaving the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
And then she ran independent,
Yeah.
which I think was gutsy.
It's really hard. She's the only independent that got in.
And she got elected.
Yeah.
So
but it's good. Good for her.
It's good. I hope that she's just like a pit bull in Parliament and just fights everybody on every stupid thing that they say, and that every time Cher opens his mouth that she's just like, shut up and sit down, you tiny little man. Because he just it makes me so mad that these people come to power, because he is not smart, he is not charismatic.
Oh, people are thinking like, why is he gonna still be the leader when he like, I don't know, but I mean, he was the lesser of a lot of evils on that. I guess.
Party. I mean, like,
and I will say, there's parts of the conservative platform that, like, if they have to work on certain things, it like, I don't know. There's some stuff we can. Let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
The second thing is that I found interesting. I was reading Pinterest the other day, and besides giving me some handy tips as to how to make your metadata work for you if you're an anarchist. There was actually a thing where it just was this simple post going, one of the reasons why Americans probably hate the idea of universal healthcare is because they think healthcare costs as much as they are paid for it. They pay for it. Yeah. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. People think medicine is expensive to pay for because they're charged a lot of money for medicine.
Yeah.
Do they realize that that's not actually how it works? That's capitalism.
Yeah.
You could easily, in your existing tax structure, pay for universal health care. The reason you think it's so expensive is because you are charged stupid amounts of money for your health care. I just thought that was interesting, and we're talking about politics right now, and I felt like the need to put that in there because go Pinterest.
You know what I find interesting?
What?
You might be the last person on Pinterest. I think
I only every once in a while look at it when I'm falling asleep. So, but yes, I understand. But I'm not on Tumblr.
I think it's like you and like one lady doing those like the little 4x4 wood
No,
blocks with
anybody with a
sayings
wedding
on
coming
them.
up is on Pinterest. I feel like that's, or costume designers. And I will say it's because I used Pinterest instead of Tumblr. Do people still use Tumblr? I don't know.
Not
Am
really.
I too old?
No, so the thing with Tumblr is that Tumblr was the Wild West. Tumblr was crazy, right? And it was definitely a place where people thought that they could share a lot of let's call them racy images. And then Tumblr was bought by
Yahoo,
yeah.
I'm pretty
and
sure.
Yahoo was like, oh no, this simply won't do. We can't monetize this platform if there's all of these nipples, both male, female, and everything in between. And so they locked it down with an algorithm that, quite frankly, does not do a good job of locking that down, because there's lots of nipples, male, female, and everything in between all over Tumblr. But and then there are other people who are like cosplayers and stuff who are like, I'm in a swimsuit. It's a one-piece swimsuit. Why am I not allowed to post this?
Yeah.
Because the algorithm says like, oh, this is inappropriate. So a lot of people left Tumblr over that. So there were a lot of people who were like kind of on the fringe of that. But honestly, like Tumblr was a safe haven for people who were in like the BDSM communities and stuff
Right,
like that.
and
Just sort of like all of these kind of alternative lifestyle communities. It was a real safe haven for that stuff because it was a social platform that wasn't targeting those groups and saying you can't be here. And then they targeted those groups and said you can't be here. And it turns out that's who was there. Right. So it went from a platform that was worth however many millions of dollars. Actually, I think it was like $1 billion.
Yeah, it was something stupid.
That Yahoo paid for it, and now it is valued at less than $1 million. And it's like an industrious person could just buy it from Yahoo if they felt like it. And I'm really surprised that nobody has. And seeing that like you could turn that back into, I mean, like, not to be too cavalier about it, but like Pornhub makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's just reality. People, but it's the internet. That is why the internet exists. That's why the internet is proliferated the way that it has, because people realized, holy crap, I can get porn on this thing. It's like our phones, right? Phones were getting smaller and smaller and smaller. They started as the Zach Morris giant gray brick. Yeah. And then like they had gotten down to like the Razor. Yeah. Right? Where it was like, how thin and breakable can we make this thing? They just got smaller and smaller and smaller. And then the iPhone came out, and then it connected to the internet, and people realized like, I can look at stuff on the internet. There's porn on the internet. And then phones started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, and it's like, I bought the 8 Plus because I was like, I can watch movies on the train. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, that's like people, like, they buy bigger phones because they can watch their media.
People watch porn on your commute, people. I don't think you realize this.
100% people do that. 100% people do that. And that's why they make those screen protectors so that you can only see from straight on. Yeah, if you look at it at an angle, it's like, yeah.
I have definitely read pornographic novels on the bus. Like, on my phone.
like erotic.
It's, I guess, see, porn is such a weird word to describe romance novels because it's not really. Yeah. But I don't know, it's like an odd.
I mean, like, I think erotic fiction is a good term for it.
Would you consider 50 Shades of Grey porn or erotic fiction?
No, it's definitely erotic fiction. Yeah, it's very poor erotic fiction, yeah. But it is erotic fiction. Yeah. But like to like the thing about porn is that the majority of porn is very transactional.
Okay, right? I guess so.
It's fair. Like, yeah. And especially like in this day and age, I think like when we talk about Pornhub, I think that the majority of videos on there just get right into it, right? It's not like the classic 1970s porn of like, I'm here to check the cable or copier. I've got this pizza, yeah. Right? Like where it's like, oh,
classic Friends reference.
Yeah, like we're creating like a narrative in order to get these people into a situation where they're having sex. First of all, it's like all amateur. Like it's all just people with phones filming themselves doing stuff.
Because if you have a phone, you not only can watch porn, you can make porn.
You have a whole production studio in your hand.
Have I told you that I really want to make a porn? Like, as a producer, like I want to make because it's like all the things I want to make VR. But also like, how come VR hasn't gotten better? You would think that something that has the capacity to like really like reach a specific demographic. I just think that porn and VR are like go hand in hand and should be developing faster than it currently is. I think that's just a hardware thing. It's not. Maybe. It's getting there. It's getting there. But the thing about it being good for porn is that it's kind of got to be a little bit more hands free. And VR right now. Fair. VR right now, there's a lot of cables and it's clunky headsets and stuff. No, they just released an Oculus with no cables.
Yeah, they did. So that's why I say it's getting there. And as those devices get smaller, I think that then they'll start to.
It just needs holograms.
It'll start to work.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you in the middle of talking about Pornhub because I got excited
we're good.
about. Okay, cool.
I think we're good. I did not realize that you wanted to produce.
Well, Andrew talks about it all the time.
Yeah,
and it's like it would just be interesting to try to like. It just is like an interesting medium. Like when you actually like look
How
at
does he talk about it? Like he wants to make a porn or
not, but to like direct one or to like, because first of all, it doesn't seem, and the problem is though, what I feel like we have a higher production standard than what porn is used to, but it's like, it doesn't take, and it's a whole industry. Like it's really fascinating to look. I feel like I'm not actually talking in a microphone, but I feel like it would be really interesting to just look at the like business side of it, because it's this huge business and industry with like standards and anyways, I just think it's really fascinating. And I can't think of any ideas for short films, but I have thought of an idea for a short porn film.
So I have an idea for like a zombie movie that is very like exploitation that would have like graphic sex stuff in it. So
she's the cure for the zombie virus, but you have to have sex with her.
I came up with that and told you that. Yeah, you're stealing my idea.
Are you sure?
I am positive because I told you that idea and I'm pretty sure I told you on a podcast.
Okay, well I wrote it into a script, so it's now a thing that actually exists.
You need to give me credit.
I mean, it's a.
If you ever make that. Yeah, I have it in my iPhone. I have the idea in my
iPhone
from the day that I came up with it.
It's like the only thing that I'm like, hey, this actually is a good idea and could be like a, well, I mean.
You didn't act that way when I pitched it to you.
Really?
Yeah. You were very, very dismissive of it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You were like, ugh.
Maybe I thought about it for a little bit and was like, hey, this could really work.
Yeah.
But only as a short film.
You heard it here first. Amanda tried to rip my idea off unknowingly.
Totally. Amanda just forgot, as she does many things, what Mike told her. Which I will say, there is a lot
of... It's okay.
8 years of
It
history.
just means that if you ever do produce that you have to put my name on it somewhere, and I expect to get a percentage.
Special thanks.
You cut me in. You gotta cut me in on that.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we know that I'm very close to producing pornography, so clearly this is a... But it's a good little idea. I mean, did you fully think it through? I want to know what how it works in your brain. Because in my brain, maybe did I take the whole idea from you? Because I have like the whole, like the beginning, middle, and end of it.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't have like a narrative structure to it yet. Like I just had the idea of like, it's a zombie apocalypse and the cure for this zombie virus, they like genetically engineer a person. And in order for her to distribute the cure to zombies, she has to have sex with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Mine wasn't genetically engineered. In my brain, I got rid of that part of it. Okay. It was just like
spontaneous.
It's an immunity.
So like, because
it's like sexually transmitted.
To me, it was like taking Resident Evil, not the video games, but the movie, like the Mila Jovovich movie, and pushing that, like taking that to the logical next step.
Well, yes, because like, it's very close to pornography.
I mean, like she is just a sexy lady killing zombies.
That's true.
Right? There's not much story.
I actually tried to make it into a full like series arc. It just doesn't work the same. But I did actually come up with a full series. Oh my gosh, I should send this to you. It's like one of the only things I have into a full
really
Bible.
Should.
How did I not know that this was your idea?
I don't know.
How many ideas have people told me that I've just decided are things that I'm now making in my head?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure it's Zombie Dream. You want me to read this?
Yeah.
So this is the date on this is August 1st, 2010. During an engineered zombie apocalypse, a cure is discovered, but only through genetic manipulation. A girl is engineered to be immune. It's 2010. A woman is engineered. I would have written a woman now. A woman is engineered to be immune to the zombie strain, but can only pass the cure on genetically or possibly through sexual contact, and has been bioengineered with an insatiable libido in order to spread the cure.
Oh, interesting.
That's my pitch for it.
Nice.
So there you go.
Huh.
There it is. I win.
I mean, I don't disbelieve you that you told it to me at some point in time, but in my brain, it's just completely gone around like, hey, there's this idea.
That's fine. Cool. We really need to record Quiver.
Sugar. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
It's been an hour and 21 minutes.
Well, enjoyed this short episode of the Thunderquack podcast.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry.
Terrible at this.
We talked about politics, porn, and Star Wars. What else do you want?
The reality of it is that we just want to record the Thunderquack podcast. We want to be done with Quiver. But
I think so.
Okay. Thank you for listening to the Thunderquack podcast.
I don't know why you do.
I do. That conversation was awesome.
Okay, good. Enjoy.
The politics was probably a little on the dry side.
But if you stuck through the politics, you got the porn.
You did get to porn. I think it was worth it. We started with
why anybody does anything.
We started with Star Wars, and then we got into politics, but we ended with zombie sex.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Cool. Okay.